One of my favorite aspects of Yom Kippur revolves around this balance between the individual and communal. The words of our prayers constantly emphasize doing our own individual teshuvah, returning, repentance, atonement. Though our liturgy does not traditionally offer an opportunity during the prayer service for people to publicly share their personal stories of atonement, nor even write them down privately. We spend the entire day communally absorbed by these themes. During Al-Chet, for example, we repeat over and over again, "For the sin we have committed against you by..." And a lot of the time, each of us individually did not steal that year, nor commit adultery, nor do whatever sin we are repenting for. The beauty here roots in identifying with the sentiment of one of our core prayers, the essence of Judaism, the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The divine is one. We are one. This belief in oneness can help one embody more love for one another, seeing each other as an extension of oneself, cultivating more peace amongst us. Ultimately, during these Yamim Noraim, days of awe, we are regarded as praying Ba'agudat Achad, as a single spiritual unit. When it comes to atonement, though, especially in 5784 in our global situation, it can feel disconnected maybe. We don't want to be blamed for others' sins. In the days of the temple in Jerusalem, on Yom Kippur, and only on Yom Kippur, HaKohen HaGadol, the high priest, would enter Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, the center, most sacred spot in the temple, perceived to be the most direct access point to the divine. I meet monthly with the Jewish high schoolers on the coast, so I ask them what they think was inside the Holy of Holies. They guessed the Torah with a tallis and every other Jewish ritual object ever. They guessed a mountain with a waterfall and a rainbow. They guessed so many things. You know what was in there, though? No things. Nothing. Everything. Nothing. Think about that. We revolve our entire spiritual year around this moment of the most sacred individual entering the most holy room on earth, the center of the temple, and it is filled with emptiness, nothingness, allness, oneness. We center our lives around nothingness. Earlier, during our Chatzi Kaddish Chavruta, you partnered off and discussed what to you is nothingness. I decided to also ask this of Claude, an AI chatbot. Blame my partner Ben, he works in AI, so talks about it a lot. So when I ask existential questions of all of you, I can't help but wonder what AI thinks too. So I typed in a spiritual sense, what is nothingness? And it answered, in a spiritual sense, the concept of nothingness is complex and can be interpreted differently across various philosophical and religious traditions. Here's an overview of how nothingness is often understood in spiritual contexts. In Buddhism, particularly in Mahayana traditions, sunyata, or emptiness, refers not to literal nothingness, but to the lack of inherent existence in all phenomena. The lack of inherent existence in all phenomena. It's seen as the true nature of reality. Some mystical traditions speak of a void or abyss that represents the unknowable, infinite nature of the divine. The chatbot, the AI Claude, continued on to say, in Taoism, nothingness, or Wu, is seen as the source of all being, a primordial state from which existence emerges. In some Sufi traditions, the goal is fana, or annihilation of the ego, leading to union with the divine. In negative theology, some theological approaches define the divine by what it is not, approaching a concept of nothingness as a way to describe the ineffable nature of God. In existentialist philosophy, nothingness can represent the absence of inherent meaning, challenging individuals to create their own purpose. In some spiritual views, nothingness is seen as a state of pure potential from which all creation springs. In meditation and mindfulness, the practice of emptying the mind can be seen as an approach to experiencing a form of nothingness. In regards to death and afterlife, yes, it just keeps going. In some beliefs, the state after death before reincarnation or judgment is sometimes conceptualized as a form of nothingness. In some cosmological and spiritual views, the vast emptiness of space is seen as a form of nothingness that paradoxically contains everything. It's important to note that nothingness in spiritual contexts often doesn't mean a literal absence of everything, but rather a state beyond ordinary perception or understanding. It's frequently associated with concepts of ultimate reality, the nature of consciousness, or the source of existence. Thank you, AI. So now, with all of that context in mind, let's return to our tradition. We revolve our year, we revolved our temple to center around nothingness. We center a state beyond ordinary perception of understanding, of ultimate reality, the nature of consciousness, or the source of existence. If we were to put something, anything, inside the Holy of Holies, it would be implying that we know the answer, that we know what life is fully about. To me, having nothing in there also humbly acknowledges that we have theories about life, about the divine, about how to practice our spirituality, about death, but we don't actually know. We stand on the shoulders of giants, continuing the traditions of our ancestors, alongside continuing to question, seek, and inevitably to bring back full circle sin. The Torah has been reminding people not to lie for thousands of years, yet most of us still do. Anyway, all of that about nothingness was just a tangent. My point for bringing up the Holy of Holies is actually to focus on the fact that only the Kohen HaGadol, the high priest, enters. Just one person representing our entire people. Yom Kippur is this balance between the individual and communal, ba'agudat echad, praying as a single spiritual unit. So this one human enters into nothingness and prays for forgiveness for all the people in order to once again, year after year, reach atonement. Do you know what the etymology of atonement is? What is atonement? It comes from Latin, literally combining the words at and one. It's becoming in unity. It is oneness. We are one. We are at one. Atone, at one. We think of Yom Kippur as being about repentance, but that's just the vehicle. Yom Kippur is about atonement, at one ment, being at one, oneness. It's so much easier to apologize when we see someone as an extension of ourselves rather than another. It's so much easier to forgive when we see someone as part of us. It's so much easier to not sin in the first place when we see ourselves as one. You'd think we would have gotten this message by now, with the most sacred day of the year, every single year, being all about this. Somehow, though, we still have wars. We still have laws that restrict our rights over ourselves. We still have senseless mass shootings. So we've got to figure out how to get this message of oneness into the ears of Netanyahu, into the ears of Trump, into the ears of our neighbors, into the ears of ourselves. atONEment, atONEment, oneness. We are here in the open space of everything and everyone, every day. So, once a year, we go into the closed space of nothingness and no one to reach atONEment, to be at one. We take on the communal responsibility for everyone's sins with al-chet, for the sin we have committed against you by with the hope and prayer that this year everyone will listen. This year, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, the divine, all of us are one. I have been reading this insightful book called Einstein and the Rabbi, and I'm really enjoying how deeply spiritual and wise Einstein was. He said, "A person experiences life as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. Our task must be to free ourselves from this self-imposed prison, and through compassion, to find the reality of oneness." Einstein said that. Thus, my prayer and blessing for all of us on this Yom Kippur, may we, all of humanity, atone and truly be at one. Atone, at one, oneness.